Welcome back to part 7 of making Damascus barrel tubes with my name written all the way up them in the pattern. In our last episode, we welded together 4 twisted pieces to form a ribband. It is soon time to take this flat bar and turn it into a helically wrapped tube over this mandrel. But there is one missing component. You see, the Belgians in the late 20th century had a different idea of protection from the elements than I do. I naturally reach towards a jacket, but these old Belgian blacksmiths were tougher than I. They would just simply reach for a chemise, otherwise known as a shirt. It is a thin sheet of iron that is wrapped around our mandrel and gets welded to the inside of our barrel tube. It provides a little bit of protection, a little bit of stability, but since it's hard to buy iron sheet, we're gonna have to make our own with the very last bit of wrought iron I've got in the workshop. Oh, I think that'll do the job just fine. This is the last big chunk of wrought iron I've got, and I was getting really excited about working it out from there, but since I've got this, there's not really much point. I hope this is wrought iron. Oh yeah, that's definitely wrought iron, and as we know from our piston ring videos, a spark test is an incredibly accurate means of identifying a material. Oh, for sake, that looks like steel. It hasn't at all cost me days and days of work and hundreds of pounds over the last few months. We're going to be using the rolling mill to roll it out, but the last time I used this, I heard a noise that I didn't like. And I think it was coming from here. I slid my phone camera underneath, and I saw something broken. Best thing to do would have been to deal with it right there and then. Of course, I decided that the best thing to do would be to wait until I urgently needed the rolling mill, and then do the repair at that point in time. God, how are you going to come off there? Up, there. Oh, yeah, there we go. Oh, look at that, we've done it. Let's see what we're looking at here. Oh, that's not meant to be like this. Well, I think I found my knock, eh? Meant to be a bolt in there. Oh, look at that. Oh, yeah, that definitely looks like the screw we're missing. Yes! This was one of the best purchases I've ever made. At this point, I'm just trying to stress relieve it in between parts. Even though it's hot, it still work hardens. Oh boy. Bugger. Oh, I hate when I do that. Last time I tried to fix this problem, I didn't have a great time about it. Because these threads are designed so that when there's pressure on the part, you can't unthread it. Come on, you bugger! Another wrench on the wrench. Oh, mama! I thought buying these wrenches was just a colossal waste of money, but I have used this like every week since I bought it. Gently, gently. Nice job. Oh, don't do it to me for a second time. I did it again. Went in on the angle again. I mean, it like fed itself on the angle. It's had nothing to do with my skills at all. Currently it's 1.35 millimeters. I'd like to get it below a millimeter. That'll do. 0.77, 0.76, 0.77. That'll do! I wonder if I can straighten it the same way you can straighten copper pipe. No, the answer is no. I have to put it through the rolling mill again. Why did I put it through the rolling mill again? There we go. All right, to the shear. Trimmed the wrong side. What an idiot. Oh no, I did, we're good, we're good. Power hammer update time after the re-restoration. I'm absolutely loving it. Some of you guys very kindly pointed out that these bolts were coming undone in the finale of the re-restoration. So nip them up. One of the things I'm learning as I'm using it is to adjust this piston valve depending on whether I'm doing kind of short, thin work or large, thick work. So we get even more performance out of the machine, more control when I need it, more power when I need it. I'm absolutely loving it. And now for the hammers that are outside the workshop, as you can see with the giant Pilkington hammer, all our progress has been is the paddling pool that we've been filling up over the last few weeks. However, over here on I have been able to make one little snippet of progress. It did come with a bottom die, but it didn't come with a top die. And so I modeled one up. Might I add, it's a little bit more complicated than you expect. It's got a 0.6 degree taper on this one face here where the key goes. And then modeling a key that actually has the correct draft angles to match up with those tapers. A little bit challenging, but what's not challenging is then getting it made. You see, with so many projects and so little time, it is absolutely awesome that I can use PCBWay, which is today's sponsor, to get a new top die made. And it's dead simple. I export the 3D model, I simply drop it into PCBWay, and then instantly I get a quote. I can choose whatever material I want, whether it's aluminium, steel, titanium, or in this case, I went 4340 alloy steel. And then I made sure to add a note that I'd like it heat treated to 40 to 45 Rockwell C. You get an instant quote back, it goes through a review process, and in this case, on the die block, the price actually lowered from the initial quote. I've always found the pricing on PCBWay is incredibly competitive, and they've got really quick lead times. It makes my life easy because there's so many tools and knickknacks I need to build, like these V dies that just came in from PCBWay, swaging dies too. The quality is exceptional, and they don't just do machining, they also do sheet metal bending, laser cutting, 3D printing, and I mean, tons of different materials with 3D printing, as well, of course, as PCB manufacture. So for your next prototype, small run, or tooling that you need to make for your workshop, please go to PCBWay.com. When you use code FORGE at checkout, you're gonna get $10 off orders over $30, not including the shipping price. With every video we do, there's a limited number of discount codes for you to use, so go get it quick. I think it's a great service, and I think you're gonna be very happy. Thanks again, go to PCBWay.com, use code FORGE at checkout. I really desperately wanna get these other two power hammers up and running. I am so excited. But right now, space is at a premium in this particular workshop. And time, oh boy, there is never enough time. But I'm hoping to do it as soon as possible. Some logistical challenges to overcome. Anyway, back to the barrels. So now we've got to turn this flat chemise into a tube that's wrapped around our mandrel for us to wrap this fella over top of it. Only like 7 or 8 months since I've done this, so thankfully, I've got tons of practice. This needs to come up. Woo! Yeah, baby! Oh! It's cracked! No! We spent so much time making this thing! Okay, let's see if we can stress relieve it a little bit. Oh, great, the crack didn't propagate yet. No, crack is definitely propagating. Sick. Okie dokie! I love everything. Obviously, at the ends of the crack, you've got to stress concentration. It's now ripping open more and more and more. So we'll try and form that part hot, shall we? Thankfully, all that cracked stuff is going to get cut off. All right, in the fire. Like a solid 7 nervous. The thing is, I'm nicely detached from all the work that it spent to get to this point. So like, I've forgotten all the long days, all the material used, all the sweat, the blood, the tears. I've forgotten. Right now, this is just a random bit of steel. Go for it. More? Yeah, now you see it. Nice job. Beauty. Okay, now torch. We'll come out for the torch like that. Starting to rip. Oh. Yeah, it's not looking good. That is a very ugly looking split we've got. It is not going as smoothly as we would like. One thing at the very beginning, but now it's in the middle, not good. Oh, those splits are bad. All right. Boom. That is everything wrapped. And I would love to say it was a grand success. Unfortunately, we got some problems. It all looks fairly good up here, but as we approach the halfway point, delamination. Delamination, 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 delamination. As we come up further, we've got another split. And then as we come up further, it's torn in the twist here. A lot of tearing in the twist there. It is not ideal. And I'm extra sad because it'd be one thing if I was kind of like 50-50 about the quality of the forge welds. I think when you're doing something like this, you can kind of assign, having done thousands of forge welds, you can kind of assign a probability of success to each forge weld based on the temperature, the way that you forged it, the impression you have as to the atmosphere when forge welding, how much oxygen got in there, how clean it was. And I have to say, in general, on this project of the Damascus barrel, given the constraints that we have, I'm quite proud of the forge welds I've done. From the beginning of increasing the layer count of the wrought iron, milling those surfaces. When this wrought iron was originally produced, they wouldn't have milled the surfaces and ground them clean before they folded them back over and forge weld them. No, that is part of why wrought iron is an inconsistent material to work with, because they were literally just forging it out, stacking, folding it back over hot, forging it out again. There's tons of opportunity for iron oxide to be in there, other contaminants that affect the strength and quality of the weld. It just happens to be that wrought iron tolerates that easier than a carbon steel. But still, we took great care to make sure that all of our welds were clean, the atmospheres were good, the actual forge welding was neat, and despite that, we've got these delaminations where our welds have ripped apart, and it would feel a lot better if I could say, I was rushing, and I wasn't paying attention, but I was paying attention. I was trying to do a nice job, and here we go. Now, there is a chance that those can forge weld back together at temperature with pressure. The challenge is, though, anywhere that it rips, it then gets exposed to the atmosphere. It's then at high temperature, which means that those faces that we want to be the interfaces of our new bond to fix the rip, they've got a load of iron oxide in there, and so it affects the ability for that material to bond together. Can we fix the cracks? I don't know. Let's just hope we can get something out of this with that text legible. This wrapped assembly, including the chemise, needs to come off the mandrel, and I have enough of a memory to realize that the last time I did this last year, it was a nightmare. So, a little small bit of nightmare. Then we're going to shave off the ends parallel and try and find our solution for getting this last set of welds done. So we've got a better end and a worst end over here. I'm going to start with the worst end so that we can get our technique down there. But before I start with the worst end, I'm actually going to use this scrap wrap from last year, heat this up in the induction coil, and just get a feel for things before we're on to the final piece. Here we go. One. Then back in. Okay, in the grand scheme of things, I think that's gonna work okay. This one didn't have the nice trapezoid preparation. We're gonna send it. And hopefully we get lucky enough that we can close up some of those cracks, and hopefully we get a serviceable tube at the end of this. Come on. Oh, that's not closing. It's not closing. That heat transfer is really poor. It's completely open and unwelded here, completely open and unwelded there. And I'm kind of trying to weld it as we go, like get it stuck so that those seams now have as little exposure to oxygen as we go, and then I'll kind of go back through it. But that's looking really bad in these two spots. Oh, my life. Sweat in my eye. God, the sweat in my eye, guys. This is incredibly stressful and worrying. It's not lost on me that I'm using an induction forge and the Belgians back in the day would have been using a coke forge. Given the increased simplicity of using induction, I'm hoping it gives me the best chance of success here. See that temperature differential between this and that? That tells me that there is not a weld in that seam. Unfortunately, they're about halfway. That's definitely not welded. We're gonna be going back through all of this. My plan is just get it seated, get it set the whole way up so that we have a kind of solid piece, then go back through and do more welds and use the mandrel more to also form it with something on the inside. It's about time for me to flip it around. Second welding pass done. There are way less visible cracks than I thought there would be at this point. My expectations were down here, and now they're kind of up there. Now onto our third set of welding passes. I'm going to change the coils on the heater. No longer going to use the propane torch because in principle it should all be sealed, no more oxygen getting in there. We're going to heat it up, upset it, and then go into the Stanco between swaging guys to hopefully make a really nice and consistent tube.
Almost. Starting to have hope for the first time in a very long time. Oh, please be good. I'm going to be completely mind blown if the ugly mess that it was has transformed into something better. I now need to make sure this is as straight as possible, and we're going to nicely stress relieve it, heat it all up, let it cool down in air.
Wow. Just look at how relaxed it is. I only wish to be this stress relieved at some point in my life. But look at the pattern you can see. Look at those pretty patterns. Hopefully we've got some words in there. Just got to reveal them. I have to say, my forging was remarkably round, for my toot my own horn a little bit.
It looks more like a flute than a horn.
Okay. I am going to make a couple little grooves so we can put a live steady in. And then all of this work will boil down to the following moment, where we take a skim pass off of this forge scale and we see, were we able to get rid of all of our cracks? Do we have a solid piece? It's possible that all this lovely forge welding I did, where it looked like it was delaminating and it looked like it was cracked, it's possible that all that forge welding just kind of closed up a nice skin around it, and inside is something quite ugly. Let's hope that's not the case. Now, unfortunately, though we've got it running pretty true to the material at the ends of the bar, we have quite a significant run out here in the middle. And you can see that based on the mega interrupted cut that we've got. Looks like it's, about 3 millimeters of run out, which is no good. So, this piece is not straight enough. All that tension about being on the precipice of something important, and it turns out we've got to take it out of the lathe and straighten it. Yeah, I can see that by eye. In the stress relieving, as it was getting relaxed, it must have taken on a little curve to it.
Did some stress relieving last night.
I bet you did, Jamie. You ever had Rocky Mountain oysters, Jamie?
What? What's a Rocky Mountain oyster?
Because let me tell you what, this is dead nuts.
I don't get it.
That's a little bit better. Getting a lot more contact than the first go around. A little less run out. We can now do our skim pass. This is terrifying. What if I'm cutting off too much material, Jamie? Like, I know I'm gonna have to cut off material to expose the pattern, but what if we're going too deep? Well, I am shocked to say it looks like a largely good tube. There is one region right there where we have some delamination cracking. That is the only spot. How?
Literally right in the middle of the thing, though.
It would mean that if we were a 19th century Belgian blacksmith, we would be able to offer our client a set of dueling pistols. But still, considering where we were yesterday morning, with that ugly mess before forge welding, that we put all that back together, that blows my mind. That is the power of the forge weld, and, might I say, the power of the induction heater. You remember from our test pieces earlier this year that the pattern is best visible about at the halfway point, halfway into the bar, because this bar has been wrapped in a helix. The cross-section is going to look like a donut. The halfway point of that donut is exactly where the pattern should be best visible. We've currently got it turned to 27 millimeters. In principle, that halfway point is 21 millimeters, but I want to have a look at it now, see how it's developing. If it looks perfect, why go further? Yeah, I don't know. I'm just scared to go too far here. The moment of truth. All right, what are we seeing? We're seeing nothing. We're seeing twist. All right, we expect to see twist. I see S-T-E-E-L-E. This is cool, but we are definitely gonna need to go deeper. Deeper! Take two, we're at 24 millimeters. So I do want to reduce the diameter further to get the pattern to expose even more, but see how it's all quite light looking? There's no contrast. A bit terrifying to suggest the idea, but I think I want to change the microstructure by doing an attempt at hardening to see if then that's going to give us more contrast in the etch. We're going to test the concept on this, my first helically wrapped and welded Damascus barrel tube, see if we get any sort of improvement in contrast during the etch. Well, that is terrifying. It didn't crack, but obviously we only did a short bit. We'll test etch. That is way better. So down here is where it was red hot when it was quenched. Up here it wasn't red hot. It's definitely better, right?
Definitely.
Significantly get better etch. In order to cool this barrel tube, we need to make sure that the water that we are cooling it in is at a consistent temperature. The last time that I did a quench into a tube like this, it worked great until the water started boiling. And so what my wife and I have devised is a recirculation system. We have an exit right there, with a little bit of a valve. Up here, we have a very fancy hose pipe coming into the top of the tube. And what we want to do is we want to maintain a balance so that the inlet matches the outlet. Testing in 1, 2, 3.
The idea was good, okay?
Yeah, execution maybe not so much. Maybe I need to regulate from here. Maybe regulating from the ball valve is causing an issue. It looks like the level is actually potentially rising a little bit, so I'll close it off a tiny bit. God, this is some hillbilly engineering if I ever saw any. How about that? Look at that, boys and girls. We have a water circulating quench tank in the workshop? What? Right, now we're gonna wheel my $10,000 40 kilowatt induction forge into place. This is our splash protection. The trouble is, if any of my neighbors now open up a tap, the water pressure's gonna change, and all this setting up is useless. Nobody flush the toilet! We've got one lovely straight barrel tube that is crackless, apart from one spot right in the middle. Not only is there a potential risk that we now create a banana tube instead of a straight one, but that one crack becomes many. And we're taking these risks so that we can get the best etch possible, because after all this work, we want the pattern to be clear, contrasting, and as beautiful as possible. The trouble is, I can't really see the temperature. Oh, I love that it's boiling, and I love that it's spraying water all over me that's boiling. Let's go! So as you can see by the rolling boil, our water circulation method really made sure that the water stayed a very cool temperature. Right, well, we're soon gonna find out if we ruined all these months of work. Have I, like Icarus, flown too close to the sun in trying to make this pattern as shiny and beautiful? Oh, God!
Oh, no!
Ah! So this is that new late 1800s corner shooting technology that we've just developed. Save you exposing yourself to the enemy, now you can just shoot right around the corner. Look at that. Good job, Bob.
No, you're Alec. Don't blame Bob for that.
But I want somebody else to blame. You can see the pattern poking through the forge scale. Yummy. It's gorgeous. The only trouble is, it's now bent! Oh yeah. Thankfully there's a crack right underneath it, which we're at risk of breaking. Oh, what's that noise? Oh yeah, it's still very, very bent. God, imagine if it just pops. Wow, that's a lot of force. Oh, maybe I'm gonna break the clamp though. Not really doing anything there. Okay, let's put it back in the heat. Sick. I love that. I've got like 3 millimeters that I can turn off the diameter. So I only need to get it straight to the extent that it has 1.5 millimeters of run out at its worst. Currently, it's probably got like 10 millimeters of run out. So it just needs to be 10 times straighter. Ah! It didn't at all look like it was gonna do anything, did it? That leverage was nowhere near enough to straighten, was it?
You know what I think?
What do you think?
You put it in the press.
Yeah, I might need to put it in the press. And then, dink, it breaks.
Uh-oh.
What?
My spidey senses started tingling.
Oh, what, like we're about to split this thing in half?
Yeah.
Yeah, mine too, because it seems like the obvious end of this story. Why does it seem so ridiculously obvious that the end is, oh no, I broke my barrel in half, why would I possibly do this? Here we go. Woo! Look how flexy it is. Oh, I don't like that at all. It doesn't have the pressure. I've got to turn up the pressure, but that means turning up the speed. Okay, I'm just going to hold it there for a little bit, and then I'm going to release it and see if it's any straighter. Oh, it worked! No way! I think it got straighter, guys. Is it me, or have we made improvements? This is the culprit area. So since we're only heating it to 300 degrees Celsius, that's kind of equivalent to a warm tempering temperature. Now, this is quite low carbon steel, so when we quenched it, did we form martensite? This, when we're dealing with a knife, and we warm it up to 200 or 300 degrees Celsius, brings the toughness back in the blade, but is also just enough temperature that it's ductile enough that you can do some bending and straighten things out, and hopefully not have cracks form. So cool. That also sucks. Nice one, Alec. Why? Why would I do this? Why does it seem so ridiculously obvious that the end is, oh no, I broke my barrel in half. Why would I possibly do this? I could have just had an okay etch and we would have been done by now. Hi, Jamie. How are you?
How's it going? Wow. Wow. What happened?
I tried to straighten it in the hydraulic press and it was going great until it went crack.
Hydraulic press?
Yeah!
Oh dear. What's up?
Hey, man.
What happened?
Yep.
That's rough.
Yep, there we go.
What are you doing?
Here we go. I see a little bit of something.
What a day.
What a blooming year. Oh, yeah. I'm seeing some Alec. I'm seeing some Steele. I'm seeing some Alec Steele. Oh my goodness, look at that one. There we go, Alec Steele, center screen. Oh, yeah, baby. As I polish it, it doesn't look too different to how it looked 24 hours ago. You know, before I decided that I needed to harden it. And then it warped, and then it snapped in half. You know, there's a similar amount of contrast. It is polishing a bit better there. A-L-E-S-T-E-E-L-E. Ale Steel. Yeah, it's not etching very well.
Tell us about your morning.
Well, I didn't like how that first etch looked. I think I left it in too long, in too high of a concentration of acid, and it got a little bit pitted. So I had to completely return it, and then completely re-sand it with the belts. And then now I'm putting the scratch lines, instead of radially, I'm putting them lengthways, and I think it's going to be the ticket. I think it's going to look a lot better. As they say, 13th time's the charm. I'm going to be going super quick on this one in 3, 2, 1. It really just takes the shine away instantly. It looks really good in here, and you can see some nice text. And then on the other side, it looks a bit bland. Principle now is testing to see if maybe I etch it a little bit, I buff it, so that the high spots get a little bit shiny, I then etch it again, maybe I buff it again. That's the idea, not principle, theory, I guess. I mean, it looks phenomenal there. Look how incredible it looks there. If I could just get that across the whole thing, I would be so proud. But it's just that little bit inconsistent. I think we might be onto the technique. Etch, buff, etch, buff, etch, buff. Third etch. Oh, it's looking good, boys and girls. Oh, it's great. My name is all the way up and down that thing. Makes me very happy. Got to finish up our second tube now. And while I do finish this up, I want to talk about some of the things that I wish I did different, the lessons that I have learned. It's unlikely that I'm going to be able to have another shot of doing this pattern in my working career of making YouTube videos. And so for myself in the future, when maybe I'm a retired man and I've got more time, less pressure to make a living and run a business, I really hope and dream that I can pick this back up and learn from the lessons that I've learned on this project. I also hope, and will be so excited if some of you guys, some of you blacksmiths watching, take the lessons that I've learned from my research, the lessons that I've learned from Steve Culver, all the people along the way, and then go and improve upon it without having to make the same mistakes that I've made. What I wish I'd done different is change the proportions of the text, this padding around the text, and the layers in the middle. You see, what's happened is, in our final piece, through oxidation and grinding, a lot of this material has disappeared, meaning that the beginning and end letters are getting too clipped in our pattern, and relative to the final bar, the text is too small because too much space is taken up by these straight layers. It should have been much more like this. There should have been a really significant amount of padding around the text block, and instead of splitting it into thirds, the central layers should have been a much smaller proportion of the whole billet. It would have made the text in the final thing stand out so much more, the letters could have been larger, and given the new techniques that we've experimented with and tried, forge welding with the induction forge, I would forego trying to use wrought iron as a component in here for its ease of forge welding, because it comes along with other problems, such as this desire to rip apart at times, and the fact that it doesn't get us as strong as a contrast as our high nickel alloys paired with a plain carbon steel. When it comes to the twisting, I also think that the old timers, they knew what they were doing. I went to the effort of making my bars round, adding ribs to them, and then twisting them to get the twist rate that we wanted. They just twisted square bars and then stacked pre-twisted square bars together and then forge welded straight from there. They weren't even re-squaring it. In the making of these things, I was trying to be so conservative and so clean, but I think this is worth experimenting with, because what will happen is as you forge, it's deforming, which is then ejecting the forge scale out of the way. And I think that might be how they got away with forge welding straight from their twisted squares, making the whole process much more efficient and significantly reducing the amount of wastage due to grinding. Doing this project has been just a continuous kind of pro and con evaluation. This took a tremendous amount of time, but now, knowing what I know I could do it much faster, which just frankly leaves me itching to want to do it again. I would also forego the hardening, but in a hypothetical future where I was worried about the mechanical properties, not just the aesthetic properties, it would take some more research to figure out whether it was or whether it wasn't required. But if I did have to harden it, I would harden it out of the forging so that it's as thick as possible, as little chance of warping, and as much excess material as possible to turn it down on the lathe. Another point in favor of not using wrought iron is etching that wrought iron, it just appears dirty. It is a kind of more porous material because of the inclusions in it and its anisotropic structure. Those long, thin grains in it seem to allow the acid to kind of burrow in there, and it's almost porous and makes a splotchy, holy effect that you don't get when you're working with your modern Damascus steels like 1080 and 15N20, unless you leave it in there way too long. It has, of course, been incredibly special to use wrought iron. It has a provenance of, you know, being from a castle in the county where I grew up. Using our induction forge was just fabulous. It makes me so happy that I purchased this. Doing these welds was about half the reason for buying this induction forge. Overall, I just have so much respect for the blacksmiths that came before me. The people that would have made that famous Zenob barrel, they would have been making barrels barrels their whole life. They might have had 50 years of practice, experience, trial and error, and by goodness, I wish that I could watch them work in person, learn from them in person, because now that I've done this, I knew it was going to be difficult starting out, but by goodness, I know just how difficult pulling it off really is. Imagine 2 matching barrels this long with no cracks, no inclusions, perfect with text in it. I tip my hat to the blacksmiths that came before me, because by goodness, they were very, very, very good. It was almost exactly a year ago that we set out on this project to learn about early 1700s wrought iron wrapped barrel techniques on to our late 1800s Damascus wrapped barrels, with the eventual goal of doing this. A helically wrapped, forge welded Damascus barrel tube with my name in the Damascus pattern running all the way up it. The only problem is, it's a little bit shorter than I initially intended, but at least I've now got 2 of these tubes. This has been fabulously educational. And I'm so excited for the day that I can perfect these techniques, but I think, regrettably, that might have to be when I am an old man. Thank you so much for being here on this journey, and if you thought this was a complicated project, wait till what is coming next. Thank you to today's sponsor, which was PCB Way. Again, use code FORGE at checkout for $10 off your order. Bye-bye.